Pretty good.
Here.
Football? You know, it's 6 o'clock.
Is it 6 already?
It's like 30 seconds to collect yourself.
Is okay, yeah.
We will now call to order this meeting of the Budget Committee for the Coos Bay School District. So welcome, everybody. First item on the agenda is budget, or second item on the agenda is budget discussion. So we'll just turn it over to you, Marina.
Sure,
So
yeah.
lead that.
Yeah, so this is just a continuation of the last budget committee. We had presented the summarization from last meeting, and it's essentially just open to you guys for any questions or discussion you guys have amongst yourselves prior to making a motion to either change or adopt approve the budget.
Okay. And then just for clarification, we're meeting again because even though there was a quorum for the meeting, because there were 2 no votes on the first motion and then abstentions on the second one, it wasn't enough to carry it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
We need to have a majority of the entire committee, which we had a person resign during the last budget committee, so we are down to 13 members,
Okay.
which would require 7 yays to be a majority.
Okay, and we have quorum tonight.
We do.
Great. Is there anybody who would like to begin with discussions or have comments? Is there,
I guess I would say, having been involved with budget committees for a long time, as has Rocky and some others on the committee, the budget's development has changed a lot in the last 20 years. It used to take weeks and weeks of time to go through the budget committee. I mean, it was a raucous opportunity for public input. And then the state changed the funding and everything else. And so we basically know how much money we have, and it's not the same process anymore. So most of the time, these budget committees are give an explanation. If there's nothing in there that makes you upset or concerned, then we pass it and move on, because we know that the budget can change. We get the parameters of the budget here, but as the year goes on and things come up, the board can effectively move things around and change the budget to meet the needs of the resources that actually come in. Because right now, we do not know how much money we have. We have a guess, because the legislature doesn't get down to giving us a real number until about the last week of the legislative session, which is usually in June, late June, or early July. So we really don't know the answers to those things. So what we base it on is all this other information that and past history and the best guess from other people that are up there, assumptions. And then as in this one and all other budgets, and having been a high school principal, they ask each of us, we've got X number of dollars. And usually, at least when I was here, it was never enough to do what we were doing with the year before. So what are you going to change in your, at the high school, what are you going to drop or whatever? And then we'd have these big conversations. And that used to be part of the budget committee. We would be invited to the budget committee to talk about those things. That doesn't happen anymore. So our superintendent has to gather up all that information and work with our director of finance and figure out what's the best guess for this budget and personnel. As I said in the last meeting, I am exceedingly grateful that we have taken a humanitarian vision of this budget, and there is no one that had to be ripped, which was rarely the case when I was here. But that doesn't mean that they get the same job they had the year before, because we have to move things around. So I appreciated that, and I think that's important for people on the budget committee to realize and understand. I looked at the budget last time. I don't necessarily agree with every single in it. That's not my job. My job is to decide, is there anything that is wrong that I need to change? Is there anything that I couldn't vote for? Bring that up. I just aren't feeling comfortable about the current budget. So, and I appreciate the clarity with which it's presented. So thank you for that, Marina. I have budget committees where I have no idea what I was talking about. That's okay. This one is pretty straightforward, and I appreciate it. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. And I would like to caveat that this is both an estimate of our revenues, but also of any staffing costs as PERS rates are changing effectively this morning. And also literally this morning. And we are still in double negotiation. So our licensed and classified groups are still in the middle of negotiations, and we don't know the COLA or final costs associated with those. And so all of this is our best estimate with board discussion. And the flexibility will be beneficial as we move forward by having just fund and major function.
Yeah, and then just through the chair, I think other caveats, and you explained it well, the budget is a little bit of a moving target, right? Every time we have a superintendent's meeting, we hear different information. So recently we heard last Friday that we're not gonna receive the special education funding that we thought we were gonna receive. And those of you who've been around a long time, the legislature is sometimes overly optimistic, and now they've come back to us and said, that's not gonna happen. So that target moved. And so we've had to reconvene and talk about that. What's that local impact? The other thing is the federal funding. We feel pretty good about next year from what we're being told, but we're not feeling as optimistic the following. All right, so that's a variable to negotiations, right? I don't know who decided that was a great idea, but we're working to know. It just rolls out because there's a 3 and a 2, and eventually the math catches up. And then the other part, and I feel really good about this from a board level, the board leadership, they have been really clear with us in terms of priorities. And they have not given us a laundry list of priorities. I've seen situations where they give you 25 board goals and you can't execute 25 board goals. They've really given us 4. And so to go chase those and execute those, our budget is a reflection of those values. And I'll say this again, we're in this room right now because of the board's vision for alternative education, right? We can't put kids back in this building. We can be here, but Milner Crest is a beautiful building, so we're going to expand that for families and students. So within those priorities, there's sometimes conflicting values, right? It doesn't mean something else isn't important. It's just we can't get to it. Yeah. So lots of time, lots of energy, lots of, as Member Roblin said, lots of really hard conversations and brainstorming with people to try and figure those things out. And I am immensely proud that within doing this in a humanistic way, people are keeping their jobs. And that takes a lot of energy, and that takes a lot of planning. Before I was here, I was in Marshfield, and I was with the social science department, and we had to lose 2 teachers there. And we sat there for 2 hours and we planned, and it was healthy conversation, and they were solution oriented. But I would rather they have 5 teachers than 3 teachers, but that's not our budget reality, right? So appreciate you guys showing up. This is a commitment to be here.
Thank you all.
Got a question. I guess it's a question. Every year the budget is a moving target.
Yeah.
And with a lot of unknowns that are happening through negotiations and this, it almost sounds like, and then the PERS and stuff, I mean, is there the possibility that the outcome in a month or so is going to be drastic enough to where the budget committee has to be recalled? Because we get to a point of too much change and too much money to where, in my estimation, even when I was on a board, the school board, is that does the budget committee need to be involved again to relook at what the superintendent says? Hey, you never have enough money.
Yeah.
And it's always cuts. Nobody gives you more money.
Yeah.
So with that, is there, do you think this year is any different for less money, and where the budget committee needs to be recalled just to listen to how the superintendent wants to juggle that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that happening this year. The biennium state school fund legislative budget is pretty solid, the 11.36 billion. We were pretty conservative on how we budgeted that with our ADM.
I know you've been doing a really good job.
Thank
That's
you.
just an attaboy. so.
Thank you. But at the same time, we were conservative in the numbers we put in for all of our other costs. So PERS rate actually decreased by a percentage this morning, but it's still included within the budget at our original cost in case that House bill didn't pass.
Okay,
We also put in the budget the full ceiling that the board gave us to negotiate with for both groups. And so we've budgeted the ability to spend through that cap and to that cap. So I don't anticipate there will be any surprise expenses this coming year, but I think with the change in title funding and federal funding the following year, the budget committee process will be a lot lengthier because we'll be making a lot harder decisions is my expectation
Okay.
for the 26-27 year.
okay. And one other thing, and this is for our superintendent. In the past, we have been exposed to budgets coming from the superintendent office that were, let's say, not as well, they didn't collaborate as well with the staff to develop the budget. The question is that how did you find, this was your first year
Yeah.
to work with the staff. How did you find the collaboration with the staff? Were they accepting in what you were trying to do in that? Because that's just important to me
Yeah.
as we try to take and establish a budget, you know,
Yeah.
or you try to establish a
Yeah.
budget, that you can work with everybody, that everybody was working together with you.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say the admin, the principals, super collaborative and, again, creative, and when we say humanistic and trying to make sure people stay employed who are doing a good job, that doesn't just happen with us sitting here. Those are principal conversations. And sometimes that's a principal being a team player and saying, hey, I'm willing to give up that and I'll help there. Right. So they've been tremendous in those decisions and brainstorming. I would say the next iteration of the budget is probably spending a little more time getting feedback from support staff and teachers on what they think some of the priorities should be. That's not something I would say we did a great job this year, but it was board, it was admin, it was cabinet level to make those decisions. And the other part of it is we don't have a lot of variance in terms of where we can be creative right now. So we had to do principals had to take some hits with their discretionary. And that was a byproduct of Sunset needs, several of you have already heard, but Sunset needs a lot of attention right now. If you look at we have amazing facilities here. I mean, we really do. I mean, we are super fortunate.
Now,
Now the work that was done, and you were part of that, Rocky, and a lot of people at this table. I don't think people realize how fortunate we are to have the facilities that we have. When you go to East Side and Madison and Marshall Junior High and Marshall High School and our athletic facilities, they are top notch. And when I drive around the state, now that I'm getting reacquainted, not everybody has the facilities that we have. But then when you look at our facilities, we have to start to prioritize what we can do, right? And so Sunset, through lots of conversation, quickly, the feedback that I was getting was, hey, it's Sunset's turn. And then as I went to that building, it was very obvious. They need some attention. So the capital projects focused on Sunset, it focused on this building and focused on Milner Crest. But to make that happen, that means there was less flexibility in some of those discretionary budgets.
Yeah.
So that's a constraint. But yeah, the team has been fabulous.
I know we got some great people, and I knew that, and sometimes even great people have a hard time
Oh,
when
yeah.
a newcomer comes in and starts telling them what they need to do.
Yeah.
Great, and I really applaud you for, I always got a lot of good information from those that were maybe in one or two layers.
Oh, yeah.
under. So I appreciate you thinking about doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Questions? Yes, sir.
You've already had your 2 minutes.
Make a motion. so I don't
Nobody's
think-
gonna vote for it. Well, you've already voted, I guess.
I recommend that we approve the 2025-2026 budget as follows. General fund, $45,873,498.36. The special revenue fund of $23,111,440. The debt service fund of $4,719,425, and the capital projects fund of $3,820,000, for a total of $77,524, $524,363.36.
Second. So we have a first and we have a second. Do we, all in favor, say aye?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Do we want to count that out? Okay, so we'll start here.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Aye.
So it passes based on, passes based on majority. We want to move on to, another motion.
I didn't make
Someone
that,
has
somebody
one?
else can.
I'll make a motion that we approve the tax rate of $4.5276 per $1,000 of assessed value be assessed. Approve the tax rate
In support of.
of assessed value be assessed in support of the general fund. Excuse me, $4,001,909 for the general obligation bond levy in the debt service fund for principal and interest.
Second it.
Okay, we have a first and second. Any discussion?
Huh?
You didn't pick the easy one.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
We're getting
It
close.
still doesn't make sense.
We are certainly getting close to the $5, which is our limit, right?
It's okay.
It's, our max is the 4.5276.
Oh.
That's our
Oh.
maximum rate.
That's our maximum.
We love you
We're
coming out.
Okay.
Okay, all in,
That's our maximum, right? That's good to know.
all in favor? Why don't we just go around the table and so that make sure we get a good count? So.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. All right, is there anything else, for the purpose of this meeting?
Move
A
we adjourn.
motion to adjourn, or do we just?
Do we want to talk at all about the process for the budget committee selection? I know that's been brought up and it's on the agenda for the, because through the committee, the applications go through the board. And so just for clarity, I know we've talked about, thank you for being here, by the way, but sometimes trying to get people to get involved in some of these things. And so
We'll have 3 openings.
we'll have 3 openings, yeah.
And the
Yeah.
process is applications go to the board. I think we're gonna open them up in the fall. Applications come in and then the board elects or appoints the 3 openings to the budget committee.
And there will be 2 new members on the
School board.
So there'll be a lot of change on this one.
Yeah.
I think so. It's good to know. And hopefully, maybe someone is watching. If they are watching, we need to publicize the fact that we need board members available and the time and stuff that it takes. So I think that's important.
Yeah.
Keep saying it each to our board members, board meetings, that encourage people.
And
It's
do you-
nice to have group.
Oh, sorry, honey. Go ahead. Sorry. Do we put that out? David, do you put that out on, or somebody puts it out on the Facebook or
Yeah.
the who's, or whatever it is that we're seeking? Okay.
Mhm.
Just wondering how people knew about it.
Okay, great. So we'll adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Danny, for being
God, I
here.
worked it
Yeah.
Gosh, that was so nice.
She tried that last
We're
year.
only
That was like my first.
20 minutes?
So I figured out.